praises, honor, and glory unto Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, QADASH. Also want to give double honors unto the apostles and elders and bishops of Great Millstone. Blessings and salutations unto the elect of Yasharallah, as well as unto the Hakim out there enduring this truth across the four corners of the earth, teaching and preaching through the spirit of YAHAWASHI, YAHAWASHI, in truth and sincerity, as well as the men and women that follow, and those who might look like the other nation but are of the nation of Israel on their father's side by blood. And wanted to get into a lesson. I just, was talking to a brother the other day, and upon the conversation, just telling him I've been in like spirit of heaviness and all of that. And when it came about, something was said, but, as you can see within the title, it'll be something along the lines of the beauty of bitterness or something to that effect. And the main thing is, here in America, all right, our worst captivity. I don't even gotta say one of the worst. It is our worst captivity. Completely discontinued from our heritage. Treated horribly in slavery. Didn't have the name of Yahawah, being the name of the Most High, and the name of YAHAWASHI, being the name of His only begotten Son. So we was completely without protection in a sense. Esau was able to utilize his perpetual hatred, and he did so and is still doing, and that's the thing. It's like, even though we're not in chains in these present days, we're mentally enslaved, to where our people are just stuck in systemic oppression and actually feel as if everything is okay, or they have a way to getting out of this oppression, mainly by the means of money, but as we see, when you got a lot of these celebrities and entertainers and they have this money, why are they so drugged out and losing their minds and going from relationship to relationship to relationship, and they're not happy. You know what I'm saying? All right, they're not happy, and that's true. That's even amongst the other nations that are celebrities, up here in America. Because at the end of the day, this place is just a bitter place. This place is tainted. This place is polluted. Yeah, hey, we'll have to get that mic of 2 and 10. We brought it out through the spirit on Sunday. So I'm not gonna get too much into the words. The elder, he did a beautiful lesson. As you can see, America literally means bitter. This is somebody that uploaded his video, so I'm gonna put that within the description. So you can definitely check it out. He can break it down a lot better than me. Other way, I'll just be kind of regurgitating it. But best believe I'm gonna go back and get my notes going. But when you go and look up America, you realize it was named by Amerigo Vespucci, as the apostle has told us, elders and apostles and elders have told us before, for those who've been around. And he was an Italian explorer pretty much, and pretty much discovered this land as he claimed and named it, pretty much. That's where the term America comes from, is his, that Amerigo. Now, when you go and look up bitter in Italian, see English right here into the Italian, and you got amaro, you got amaro as well, pungente, because that's a part of that's a part of the taste of it in a sense, but you can have something. Well, I don't see a Amerigo on there. Okay, if that's you, if you want to be petty like that, then all right. But as you can see, the word bitter goes back, to amaro. Okay, Now, when you look up bitter in the etymology as well, it says having a harsh taste, sharp, cutting, right? Angry, full of animosity, or cruel. And that's what you get within this place, you know, uh, especially full of animosity. All right, because I want to get that. Let me see. Oh shoot! Hey, call all YAHAWASHI out shy. That's a good precept to bring out. Because this is what Esau had. This was his like they got home. They talk about home court advantage. This is Esau's home court advantage, even though he stole this land. But at the end of the day, as it says in Job 9:24, the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. And that's why even the world is becoming uh, uh, bitter towards America. All right, because of the actions that America does throughout the world, and people are just tired of it. And all in all, we at the point where the Lord is about to judge this place, right? So it says we get Ezekiel 35:5. Um, let's go up to we'll go to 3. It says, and say unto it 30 Ezekiel 35:3, and say unto it thus. I will go to 2. It says, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir, and prophesy against it, and say unto it, Thus saith the Lord Yahawah, Behold, O Mount Seir, I am against thee, and I will stretch out my hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate. Now, Seir was the dwelling place of the Edomites, man. All right, the so-called white people today, the ones who are predominantly in rulership of America, as well as amongst other countries, even in the land of Pisrael, as the elder apostle says. All right. It says, and I will stretch out my hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate. I will lay the cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord Yahawah. Because at the end of the day, Esau is going to be judged with you know, desolation. You know, they're going to be judged as high as they are and ruling the world now, which was part of the blessing when you go to Genesis. I think it's 27. They was given the dew of heaven and the fatness of the earth, pretty much rulership and dominion and in control of the resources for the most part, but they wasn't given it wasn't given unto them forever. That's the blessing that he sold, or the birthright, that part of the birthright that he had sold, man. So through the spirit, we, as in the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, got the better blessing. All right. So it says, because thou hast had perpetual hatred, which means continual hatred. Why? Because when you go and read back in 27, when he realized that Jacob had supplanted him or tricked him and ended up getting a better blessing, he immediately had hatred and was already plotting to slay Jacob, right? Now Esau's so-called whites, all right, and Jacob is the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. And notice I'm saying so-called because though that's the names and the terms and the nationalities that was given by the wicked, by the ones who are ruling the world. All right, to get away from those biblical names. That's why they like to say that the Edomites were done away with. No, they just went into different lands and under different names for the most part. All right. But one thing they didn't get away from is Caucasians, which means cave dwellers. Okay. Good old caveman. And it says, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end, Therefore, as I live, said the Lord Yahawah, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Since thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. And that's where we're at. You know, we're at the point where, Salaki, let me text this brother back. we at the point. Um, I kind of lost my train of thought. But nonetheless, he's like he said, he shed the blood of the children of Israel, and he mainly was able to do that when we got over here. All right. Now, the reason why he was able to do that, you can read in Baruch, chapter 4. The Lord sold us into the nations, not for our destruction, but we moved him to wrath by serving other gods and worshiping idols and being like the other nations. So what? We are in punishment. Okay? We are in punishment. But as it tells you in Lamentations, the 4th chapter, our punishment is almost over. And that punishment is going to come upon Edom. All right? But nonetheless, we still, even though we have this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, we still go through our bitterness. We still go through that. We still feel that animosity. We still feel the cruelty of this society, of this place. Hey, you even feel it from our own people. And mainly because of this knowledge and wisdom and understanding that we have. We try to tell our people that they're Israelites, and they just don't want to hear it. They be rebellious. They be bitter, because bitter also goes back to rebellion in a sense. You got the name Mary, Maria. All right, also goes synonymous with bitter. Because when you look it up, uh, let's see if it's right here. It might be right here. Yeah, it goes. You can see it says Mar or Marah, and it's or it goes back to Marar, you know, and it says bitterness of water or food, because you can have bitter waters, as you had when they went to the river of Mara. I mean, and the waters was bitter, and the Lord told Moses to put a certain type of tree in there, or and it made the waters sweet. You know what I'm saying? Now it is said that that gooseberry tree wood wood from a gooseberry tree can filter out or sanitize water. So I don't know if it was the same exact process, but nonetheless it's similar to it. you know but it's also YAHAWASHI, um, showing his power as he done many times throughout the scriptures, man. All right, you definitely have food, okay, because you got horseradish, right? And matter of fact, let me get this right here, because I looked up the definition of bitter herbs in the blue letter. It says the Israelites were commanded to eat the Pascha, which is, I'm gonna just say the Passover, Pesach lamb with unleavened bread and with bitter herbs, which were in that time. At sundown, it will actually end. It started on April 1st, the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and we kept the Pesach. For 7 days, you eat unleavened bread. We ate the lamb, we ate bitter herbs, and there's different types of bitter herbs, but we used horseradish. One of the bitterest of herbs in a sense. Which we'll get to that as well. It says these bitter herbs consist of such plants as chicory, bitter cresses, hawkweed, sow thistles, and wild lettuces, which grow abundantly in the peninsula of Sinai. In Palestine and in Egypt, uh, the purpose of this observance was to recall to the minds of the Israelites their deliverance from the bitter bondage of the Egyptians, right? So all that Exodus, it was to keep in mind, you know, the time that we had just experienced. All right, dealing with that affliction, man, and that slavery, and the rigorous work and being treated like nothing. All right, when we was in Egypt. Well, guess what? Let me see. It's Jeremiah. Let me look it up on my phone real quick. I'll just Google it. I always fuck this word up. They'll fix it. Oh, I got it right. Yep, Jeremiah 23:7. 16-14. Okay, let's get the. It says, hey, God will restore Israel. All right, which is the Israelites, not the people over there right now. But it says, therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord Yahawah, that it shall be no more said, the Lord liveth, that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt, because people heard about that it went out in a bang, in a spectacular fashion. Famine, death to crops, blood in the water, lice, frogs, uh, locusts tearing up the crops, boils, even on the animals, that darkness especially. They went through a good time of darkness, but where the Israelites was dwelling at in Goshen and everything, it was light, you know. So they also heard about the story of splitting the sea and us walking on dry land, and the um, the Egyptians drowning. So people heard the works of Yahweh BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI that he did for the Israelites. So when we, mainly, especially with Rahab, when the spies came in the land and she knew where they was from, what nation they was of, she was, I heard about your power, so on and so forth. So, and that's what happened with the world. The world has been duped and tricked and massaged, if you will, into forgetting about the true nature of Yahweh BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI, right? But it says in verse 15, but the Lord liveth, that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north and from all the lands whither he hath driven them, and I will bring them again into their land that I gave unto their fathers. So guess what? There's going to come a time where we're going to come out of this Egypt. All right, we're going to have an exodus from this Egypt, okay, as it tells you in Revelations 11:8, that this is spiritually Sodom and Egypt. All right. Yeah, I don't like this already. I'll be doing that. Yep. It says right here, verse 8, and their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, speaking about America, all right, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. Sodom, as you can read about Sodom in the scriptures, and you'll understand that truly, without a doubt. In Egypt, some of the symbols that they have within this place, and it's also representative of that bondage, okay? And where our Lord was crucified, this is, where they brought over that white image that they had on the eastern side of the world, and they really spread it to this side of the world, and shit, you already see the damage that has done. All right. But just another relation into this place being Egypt. All right. Go to Second Ezra, the 15th chapter. And you go to the 12th verse. No. We'll go to 9. It says, and therefore said the Lord, I will surely avenge them and receive unto me all the innocent blood from among them. Behold, my people is led as a flock to the slaughter. I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt. Right? But I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm and smite Egypt with plagues as before. So it can't be talking about that same Egypt, and will destroy all the land thereof. Egypt shall mourn, and the foundation of it shall be smitten with the plague and punishment that the Most High shall bring upon it. And that's what you're starting to see now. That's why there's so many things going on throughout the earth. And that's also why Americans, as proud as they are, they're starting to feel the bitterness, okay, of the Lord's judgment. They're starting to feel even the bitterness of this place. They're a lot of these Edomites who's been living good for the most part are starting to see what it feels like to have less and do less and be treated less because their own government is treating them as such. You know, at a point of time they was in all cahoots and they felt as if they was completely better than us. But what it is we was just on punishment, you know. We was just on punishment. Now our power is getting us out of punishment. It's bringing us out of punishment. All right. And the curses that's upon us are starting to go over to our enemies, man. You find that one. Yes, yes, there we go. And even though, you know, even though we going through it and um we just had that hope, man. That hope is what keep us sane. This is Deuteronomy 30:7. It says, "And the Lord thy power will put all these curses upon thy enemies and on them that hate thee, which persecute thee." And that's what's going to happen. Let me go up one more and see. It says, "And the Lord thy power will circumcise thine heart and the heart of thy seed to love the Lord thy power with all thy heart and with all thy soul, that thou mayest live. And the Lord thy power will put all these curses upon thy enemies and on them that hate thee, which persecute thee." And yeah, and ultimately that's going to be with that new covenant, with the laws written within our inward parts, man. You know, written within our inward parts and allowing us to be uh perfect, you know, where we don't go off anymore to where we won't have to go through this bitter state again. All right. So hey, going back to this, where is it at? Those bitter herbs, like it says, that's why we eat that. The purpose of this observance was to recall the minds of the Israelites their deliverance from the bitter bondage of the Egyptian. And we're going through the same thing this day, man. You know, we're going through the same thing. All right. Like I said, you go to bitter herb benefits. It says, herbal bitters boost digestive health by stimulating saliva, gastric juices, and bowel, which helps break down food, reduce bloating, and curb sugar cravings. And I'm just kind of, you know, thinking about it. That's what America is doing to us in a sense, as far as the wickedness that we've done. You know, through the spirit, we can acknowledge the bitterness of this place. Some of our people can't. All right, they've turned, as it says in Isaiah, they turn bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Here it is, we're in this bitter bondage. But they, as the elder brother Raib here says, they decorate they hell, you know, and they turn it for sweet. Oh, I'm gonna chase a bag, get a degree, get a good job. They chasing the American dream for the most part, and they're making this bitterness sweet. But then the actual sweetness, all right, is this honey. Okay, this knowledge, this wisdom, and this understanding, and they're making that for bitter. And when it goes in their mouth, they spit it out, or they don't, or they look at it. I don't like eating that, and they're not going to get the benefits of it. All right, they're not going to get the benefits of that. Okay. But even you go to horseradish, right? I said, is horseradish a bitter herb? Horseradish is generally not bitter. It is predominantly pungent, sharp, and intensely spicy, with a sinus clearing heat similar to wasabi. You know, but like it says, it's pungent and sharp. Well, You go to the etymology of bitter, having a harsh, that look like horse right there, horseradish. You know what I'm saying? Now, it said having a harsh taste, sharp, cutting, and that it'll get you. And we had some little quarter size thick pieces, but it's also good for, it has its benefits as well. But it says, while often used as a bitter herb in Passover traditions to symbolize slavery, it is biologically pungent, not bitter. It can become bitter if improperly stored, overexposure to air, or when using old woody roots. So at the end of the day, it's still a bitter herb, you know. Um, and as it said, it's used in Passover traditions to symbolize slavery, man. You know. Let me see. Yep. So it says if you don't want it to become bitter, cover it with vinegar. But most of them must just be old woody roots. All right, because as soon as you cut it and taste it, it's gonna get you. But like I said, it's still a sharp taste, and sharp is synonymous with bitter, right? So, um, let me see. I wanted to get that where it says before the affliction. Don't be petty. Don't be petty. Yeah, of course you will. This is Zechariah chapter 1, and then I'll go up to 13. It says, and the Most High Yahweh answered the angel that talked with me with good words and comfortable words. So the angel that consumed me, Salakia, communed with me, said unto me, cry thou, saying, thus said the Lord of hosts, I am jealous for Jerusalem and for Zion with a great jealousy. And I am very sore displeased with the heathen that are at ease. For I was but a little displeased, and they helped forward the affliction. And they've done that uh, by doing every and anything that they can. I mean, we've only heard some of the things that they done in slavery, you know. So let alone the things that we don't know about. You know what I'm saying? Breeding us like animals, raping the men and the women and the children, separating the families, of course, and just doing whatever, adultery like crazy. It's come and take your wife, and, but it's all part of the curses, man. It's all part of the curses. It's all part of the bitterness of this place, and that's why I call all YAHAWASHI shy for the spirit. Some of our people is in cahoots with some of the Americans. Let's forget about it. Let's let it go. That was a long time, That was then, this is now. All right. But uh they gotta be judged for that, They have to be judged for that. And once you understand Yahweh Shem Shai, you understand that he's just, he's fair. He allowed them to rule, and this is what they did with their rulership, and now he's about to come and judge them for what they did within their rulership and set us back on top. And we went against them. He put us in punishment under their rulership and caused us to feel this bitterness and this affliction, and now he's bringing us out of that, man. But it's not over yet. It's not over yet. But we have the Jacob's trouble in the midst of that, and it's going to heighten. It's called Jacob's trouble for a reason. But everybody else is going to be feeling it as well. They're going to be, feeling that. Like he said, he's sending those plagues back as he did at the old Egypt. So at the end of the day, man, it's just keeping our mental strong. Go to 2 Corinthians 6:4. It says, I won't go to 3. It says, giving no offense in all things, that the ministry be not blamed, but in all things approving ourselves as the ministers of the Most High, in much patience, in afflictions, and in necessities, in distresses, in stripes, in imprisonments, in tumults, in labor, in watchings, in fastings, by pureness, by knowledge, by long suffering, by kindness, by the Holy Spirit, by love unfeigned, by the word of truth, by the power of the Most High, by the armor of righteousness on the right hand and on the left, by honor and dishonor, by evil report and good report, as deceivers and yet true, because people don't believe the words that we speak, so they slander us through the Spirit. But the words that we speak, as you can see from the apostles on down, it's starting to come to pass. People are starting to see the power of YAHAWASHI manifest as unknown and yet well known, as dying and behold we live, as chastened and not killed, as sorrowful yet always rejoicing. And that's what makes the bitterness beauty, in a sense, because we understand why we going through this and what we have to go through in order to reach perfection, in order to receive salvation, in order to please Yahweh Shema Shai. We got to endure, constantly sending up prayers, fasting, being charitable, showing brotherly love, doing our duties, fearing the Most High, keeping the commandments to our best ability. We sorrowful, but we rejoice because we understand that the grass is greener on the other side, man. All right. It says, as poor, yet making many rich in wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, as having nothing and yet possessing all things, because we have the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. We understand, like, we supposed to be his pilgrims. This ain't our rest. And eventually, Yahweh Shem Shai will deliver his elect. And Lord willing, we be of that number. Eventually, all of this will be over through the Spirit, man. We understand that and know that and have that hope. Most of the people out here, they're ready to crash out and they're on edge because they don't have the same hope that we have. They just got your little basic hope that everything get better, but we hope we hope that everything get worse in this place, because after that it's gonna be better. It's gonna be righteous. All right, it's gonna be sound. It's not just gonna be um, better for one group of people. The society that they're trying to build is basically enslave everybody by putting a chip in you and you doing what they say at they will. But what Yahweh Shem Shai is going to set up, notice I said what they want to set up and what Yahweh Shem Shai is going to set up. All right, call out Yahweh Shem Shai. It's 10:44 right now. That shows you that's what's really going to happen. Is a perfect world. And even though the Israelites will be in rulership forever, but they're the rightful rulers of this earth. The earth was created for our sakes, but we're going to be fair through the Spirit, and we're going to be just. All right, we're going to be righteous, and the rest of the world will be as well, because they're going to follow after our ways, which we're following after Yahweh Shem Yahawashi, man. All right, so there you have it. Yeah, times get heavy. We in this flesh. Shit happens. You go through what you go through, but you just gotta push through. You gotta endure. Even though I go through my shit, it's never like, man, I'm tired of serving the Lord because I'm going through this. It's just, hey, I'm sending up prayers. I'm asking brothers to pray for me, and I'm getting rid of that heaviness, as the scriptures say. I'm gonna grab that, and we can end it there. I brought this out so much lately. I think I know exactly where it's at. It might be 38 and 18. Yep. Ooh, let's go to 17. Let's go to 17. This is Sirach 38 and 17. It says, weep bitterly and make great moan and use lamentation, as he is worthy, and that a day or two lest thou be evil spoken of, and then comfort thyself for thy heaviness. Yeah, it's bitter, all that weight, got so much shit weighing down on your mind, and thoughts is all over. Then you got your crazy little fleshly thoughts, and it's just, man, it's like, fuck, does it ever end? Soon it will. It says, for of heaviness cometh death, and the heaviness of heart breaking strength. You barely want to do anything. But you got to get out of that slump. Like I said, we sorrowful but rejoicing, but always but rejoicing. You know, is that what it has said? Make sure. Yep, as sorrowful yet always rejoicing. There we go. It says, in affliction also sorrow remaineth, and the life of the poor is the curse of the heart. Because hey, you don't really got much, and you can't seem as if you can't do much, but we're rich in faith. All right, we're rich in faith. Ends aren't going to meet. We're going to have bag with holes, and shit is going to happen. But it rains on the just and the unjust. So all in all, we'll get the better end of it if we be of that number. Verse 20, it says, take no heaviness to heart, drive it away, and remember the last end. So you don't want it to just sit on you, man. That's why it's not good to isolate yourself when you're going through things. Go be around brothers, read and sup with the Lord, and ask brothers to pray for you, that the Lord can strengthen your mind and endure it. As Bruce Lee said, I pray not for an easy life, but the strength to endure a hard one. Ask the Lord that He give you the strength to get through this bitterness and your heaviness, and when things is weighing down. It's gonna happen. It's the flesh. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. All right. So we got to keep that in mind. That's what the scriptures are for, man. So with that, Lord willing, you was edified, and Lord willing, we allowed to endure to the end. Once again, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, QADASH. Shalom.